All right, so this self-assessment is just not a quiz. It's not a quiz, just so you understand that. This is kind of like a baseline of where you were at, usually from kind of what we've done in the previous stage material. So this will help identify when you do this little checklist when we're done here, where you're strong at, where you're weak at. So as the quiz comes up, you kind of know where your concentration is. All right, so let's go over what we did from yesterday. Number 16. If it asks you for the square root of 256, that means they're asking you for the positive root of 256, which is? 16. 16, that is correct. 16 times 16 is 256. So the answer to 16 is 16. Now remember, 17, when you have the square root of a fraction, okay, you're going to take the numerator and square root it, and the denominator and square root it. So what's the square root of 1? 1. And what's the square root of 9?
3.
So the answer to 17 is negative 1/3. Don't forget about the negative out in front. Okay? So anything you get wrong, just fix. Because this is stuff that you're going to use to help study for the quiz. This is stuff that will be on the quiz. Okay? Now, positive or negative, that means we have to take two square roots, right? Positive and the negative. Of 1.44. What's the square root of 1.44? 1.2, right? So you could write it like this, or you could write it like this. But there's two answers there because it's positive and negative. Remember, negative times a negative is also a positive, right? Anyone get the first row right? First row. Got them all right. All right, good. Now, 19, we got to evaluate expressions. So, when you look at a fraction, especially when you see a fraction, can I simplify the fraction inside the square root first?
Yeah.
What's 81 divided by 9?
9.
9, right? So this becomes the square root of 9 minus 7. What's the square root of 9? 3. So this changes to 3 minus 7, which is negative 4. So negative 4 was the answer to that problem, number 19. Okay? For 20, what is the square root of 121?
11.
11. So we can just write 11 down here. 1 minus negative 11. So when I subtract 11 from a negative number, do we go further from 0 or closer to 0? Further, right? So our answer is negative 12. Now, who can tell me yesterday when we square a square root, what happens to the square root? What do you mean it stays the same?
Or like it stays out.
Yeah, the square root goes away. It's just 6, right? It's just the radicand number. So basically, by squaring the square root, you get 5 plus 6, which is 11. The square root goes away. The square takes the square root away, leaving you just a number underneath the radical. 11 was there. All right, just out of curiosity, how many people are perfect through 2 rows? You got all 6 right so far. All right, what about 1 wrong or less? 1 wrong or less so far. Okay. All right, now, equations, okay? So I got a number out in front of the R, I got to get rid of that first, right? That's multiplication, so we have to divide both sides by 2 first. And I'm left with R squared, because this is 1. And 162 divided by 2 is 81. So to get R squared to R, because that's our goal, is we got to square root both sides. The square root of R squared is R, because R times R is R squared. What's the square root of 81? Not just 9, plus or minus 9. Okay? So just remember that. So if you got the minus sign, add it in there. Because I can square a negative and get a positive. All right? Now in 23, I got a little bit of extra outside the d squared. So I got to get rid of the 5. How do I get rid of the 5? Subtract it. So when I subtract it to both sides, d squared equals 36. So to get to d, I have to square root both sides. The square root of d squared is d. The square root of 36 plus or minus 6. Remember, the negative can be that too. That's when we're solving equations, because all the different solutions, a negative can be a solution. And then 24. Well, I got to do this minus 385 first. So the opposite of minus 385, I'm going to add it, right. So when I add 385 to negative 42, I get 343. Now I got a number in front of the calculator screwed it up?
Yeah.
I got a 7 in front of b squared. How do I get rid of that 7? Divide it, right? So that leaves me b squared equals 7 to the 4th. That is 49?
Yeah.
49?
Mm-hmm.
So I square root both sides to get the b squared to b. And I get positive or negative 7. Okay? Now, everyone has the pink form at your desk. Notice how there's 6 sections on here. 9-1, 9-2, 9-3. If you flip it over, 9-4, 5, 6. We'll only concentrate on the 9-1 section. So you notice that under 9-1 there's 4 rows here, right? So you're going to assess how you did on this self-assessment by just doing, number 1, the learning target. Understand the concept of a square root number. So if I were to tell you the square root of 64, you know what it is. Okay? And a 1 is I do not understand. If you circle that one. 2 is I can do it, but with help. 3 is I can do it on my own. 4 is I can teach it. Meaning, if I were to, if someone were to come in absent, you can actually show that person how to do the problem. Okay. 4 is obviously you know it really, really well. Okay. 3 is you know it pretty good. All right. So you're going to circle just for these 4 rows, and then today's date, which is the 17th. Okay, because that's when we did 9-1. That's when you did this self-assessment for this day. You are going to keep this, excuse me, flipped in your quiz area so we don't lose this. Because notice how we have to do this 5 more times for 9-2, 9-3, 9-4, as it comes in the coming days. Okay? All right? So, after you finish the self-assessment, okay, for the rest of the hour, let me bring this up. Got some homework problems. Now, let me go back here real quick. So, homework problems start, I believe, on 378, which is right here. It says practice. At the bottom of your page there is 378. These are the 9 problems that we're going to check tomorrow. 9 and 10, 13, 21 and 22, 25, 41, 45, and 46. Okay? 9 problems. Okay? So if you want to circle them in your book, I'll leave this up here the whole hour. Okay? So I'll be here if you need any help. Keep that self-assessment. I mean, the whole thing's in the packet, right? So just don't lose it, because the self-assessments are things you can use to kind of help you as we prepare for that first quiz coming up. All right? All right, so I'm going to stop the video.